Plastic has become a very integral part of our lives in the last few decades. We use it for packaging food items, making toys, water bottles and pipes, even in furniture and car parts. It's everywhere around us in our homes, offices and streets. Now, despite all its benefits, plastic is extremely bad for the environment. Plastic waste often ends up in landfills, where it takes hundreds of years to degrade. If burned, the toxins in plastic can pollute the air we breathe and the water we drink. The most alarming fact about plastic pollution is that it has now made its way into our bloodstream and other body tissues. This is because of the presence of microplastics in the environment. But what exactly are microplastics? How dangerous are they for our health? And how did they end up inside our bodies? Let's find out. Microplastics are basically plastic particles smaller than a sesame seed. They are classified as primary and secondary microplastics. Primary microplastics are particles that are manufactured to be small. These include plastic pellets and microfibers used in clothing. On the other hand, secondary microplastics are particles that are less than 5 millimeters in size that are produced due to the breakdown of bigger plastic pieces in the environment. In simple terms, when plastic waste is exposed to sunlight or extreme temperatures, it breaks down into particles that are less than 5 millimeters in size. These particles are known as microplastics. It's estimated that over 99% of the fish sold in California contained microplastics and microfibers. Studies have found microplastics in various types of seafood, like mussels, oysters, clams, and fish. Even deep sea fish and fish eggs contain microplastics. Now, why is this worrying? This is because most of these fish and shellfish are considered safe for consumption. In fact, the FDA states that eating fish twice a week is healthy for people of all ages. The FDA recommends eating at least 8 ounces or 2 servings of cooked fish every week. Experts believe that approximately 69 million tons of fish are caught worldwide each year. A 2019 study published in the journal Science Advances found that an average American eats 12,000 pounds of fish every year, and this fish has been contaminated with plastic. As of today, there is no regulation or law that limits the amount of microplastics that can be present in fish or other seafood. There is also no standard method to test for microplastics in food. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, is responsible for ensuring the safety of seafood in the United States. However, the FDA's primary focus is on chemical contaminants such as mercury and other heavy metals. As per their website, the FDA does not currently have a food safety hazard or regulation specifically addressing plastic in food. In the European Union, the EFSA, or the European Food Safety Authority, regulates the maximum levels of specific plastic substances that can be present in food contact materials. However, the EFSA does not regulate microplastics per se. Instead, the EFSA has scientific opinions on the risks associated with the use of plastic substances in food packaging. Similarly, Canada's food and drug regulations do not specify limits for plastic in food. In Canada, the maximum limits are set for particular chemicals used in plastic manufacturing. For example, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has established limits for chemicals such as bisphenol A, BPA, which can leach from the lining of metal products used in packaging. The World Health Organization, WHO, has not released any official statement on the maximum limits of plastic in food. However, the WHO states that plastics are killing humans and animals. According to them, each year globally, more than 1 million plastic-associated deaths occur. Moreover, the WHO believes that plastic is entering the food chain and posing serious threats to human health. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, in the United States, the sources of microplastic exposure are air, water, and soil. Microplastics in the air may be inhaled and absorbed in the lungs, Once in the body, microplastics can travel via the circulatory system and accumulate in different organs. Microplastics in water may be ingested when a person drinks the water or accidentally swallows it. Microplastics in soil may also be ingested by humans through the consumption of crops grown in the soil or by putting hands in the mouth after touching the soil. Additionally, people may also eat plastic that is directly added to food during processing. For example, plastic packaging and utensils that come in contact with food may cause microplastics to leach into the food. Plastic particles are also used in industrial processes that require abrasive materials. For example, in the manufacture of paints and personal care products such as facial scrubs and toothpaste. When these products are rinsed off or washed off, microplastics are released into the wastewater system. Microplastics can also be released into the environment during the washing of plastic-based textiles such as polyester, nylon, and rayon. A recent study conducted by Orb Media found microplastics in the water supply of 15 of the 16 US cities that were tested. Furthermore, tests revealed that plastic particles were present in the water of major US cities like Los Angeles, New York, and Washington, D.C. And if you think bottled water is safe, think again. A study conducted by Orb Media found that 93% of the 250 bottles of water purchased from various locations across the United States, including national and international brands, contained one or more types of microplastics. Most of the bottles contained plastic particles smaller than 2.5 microns in diameter, which are particularly dangerous as they can pass through the blood-brain barrier. In another study conducted by Orb Media in collaboration with the University of Colorado Boulder, 77% of the beer and 72% of the wine samples from various brands across the United States were found to contain microplastics. In the European Union, 67% of beers and 64% of wines tested positive for microplastics. Overall, the study found that plastic particles were present in 93% of the beverages tested, including sparkling water, non-sparkling water, beer, wine, and spirits. The presence of microplastics in beverages is concerning because once consumed, these particles can enter the digestive tract and potentially lead to ingestion. Now that we know how easily microplastics can contaminate our food and water, let's try and figure out how bad they are for our health. Well, scientists don't have all the answers yet. Since microplastics are relatively new environmental pollutants, research on their effects on human health is still in the initial stages. Scientists are working hard to learn more about the potential risks associated with microplastics. Preliminary studies suggest that microplastics may pose risks to human health in several ways. First, they may cause physical damage to cells and organs. Second, they may trigger inflammation or immune responses in the body. Third, they may disrupt the endocrine system. Fourth, they may affect reproductive health. Fifth, they may have carcinogenic effects. Sixth, they may impair the function of the nervous system. And finally, they may lead to behavioral changes. Several studies have found that exposure to microplastics can result in oxidative stress and cellular damage. Oxidative stress occurs when there is an imbalance between the production of reactive oxygen species, ROS, and the ability of the body to detoxify the ROS, or repair the resulting damage. ROS are highly reactive molecules that can damage cells and contribute to aging and disease. According to some animal studies, microplastics have been found to cause liver damage and altered kidney function. Furthermore, microplastics have been linked to neurodevelopmental disorders such as autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. One study, published in the journal Environmental Pollution, reported that mice exposed to microplastics displayed behavioral abnormalities such as anxiety, depression, and impaired social interaction. Another study published in the journal Nature Nanotechnology found that inhalation exposure to nanoparticles can lead to accumulation in the brain and adverse effects on learning and memory. The study states that exposure to nanoparticles in the air can lead to their deposition in the brain, where they can disrupt neuronal function. The authors highlight the importance of understanding the mechanisms underlying nanoparticle-induced neurotoxicity to protect against potential risks to brain health. Furthermore, a study conducted by researchers from the University of California, Riverside, found that microplastics can negatively impact male fertility. The study, published in the journal Environmental Sciences and Nanotechnology, showed that male mice exposed to polystyrene microplastics experienced a significant decrease in fertility. The researchers discovered that the microplastics accumulated in the testes and epididymis, leading to sperm damage and reduced fertility. The study suggests that similar effects might occur in humans, although research is still ongoing and further studies are needed to fully understand the potential risks of microplastics on human health. The available evidence suggests that these particles can cause adverse effects. Microplastics have been found in various types of seafood, including fish and shellfish. As mentioned earlier, many of these seafood items are commonly consumed by people worldwide. When consumed, microplastics can accumulate in the digestive tract and potentially be absorbed into the bloodstream. Once in the bloodstream, they can travel to different parts of the body, including the organs and tissues. Microplastics have been detected in human blood samples, indicating their presence in the bloodstream. Now, considering all the potential risks that microplastics can pose to our health, it becomes crucial for regulatory bodies and researchers to take immediate action. Establishing safe limits for microplastics in food and water is essential to protect public health. Additionally, promoting sustainable practices and reducing plastic waste can help minimize the release of microplastics into the environment. By raising awareness and taking collective action, we can work towards creating a healthier and more sustainable future for ourselves and the planet. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.